I'm an assistant director down there over the processing side. So I deal with the majority, we'll just say all undergraduate, domestic students is what I will deal with. International students, I don't. Is this on? Just so I don't have to.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool. Okay. International students I don't have to deal with very often. Sometimes we'll have students that are citizens of the U.S. but have studied their entire career outside of the U.S. due to family circumstances. Sometimes parents work out of the country. We get a lot of military students that are based at the military schools. Those ones are really easy, though, because they follow the U.S. curriculum. So anyway, if you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to ask. Don't be shy, because everybody probably has the same question. I know you may have heard that a million times, but it's true. So, okay, any questions for me before we begin? We're good? Okay, well, thank you for being here. And a lot of what we do, I'm hoping to relate this to your jobs. A lot of what we do is we follow deadlines, we post transfer credit, we say yes or no to students if they can study here or not. That doesn't mean that they can study in your program. For example, the business school has certain requirements to get into their program. Even though they're a student of the university, doesn't mean they can be a student of the university plus the business school. The business school has the right to say, yes, you can study business here. But that doesn't, we hope that they can find something that they'll fit into if they meet the requirements. So why do we have application deadlines? I'll just explain that. These are all found on our website. We have them to make the student have a seamless process. If a student can come in, get in on time, pay their admissions enrollment deposit, find housing, have their transfer work posted, meet with advisors prior to class starting. That's a lot. Get their financial aid in line, do new student orientation. We have deadlines for the student, to tell you the truth. And it helps us too, because then we're not running around crazy at the end of the semester. But these deadlines are to help the student have a seamless process and enjoy their first semester here at the university and not have this hectic week right before school begins where they're doing everything, right? Have you guys seen financial aid lines? It amazes me how long it gets. So, and then tuition payments, when that comes around, that line is also very long. So this is why we have deadlines. I will stress so residency. Do you know why we have an office specialized in coding students' residency after our initial evaluation? A student has to meet a certain criteria to be coded a resident of Utah, it's not a resident of the U.S., to be able to pay a certain tuition rate. Because we are a state-funded school and we will follow the guidelines that the state gives us. Anyway, the difference is if a student is a resident of Utah, if we code them a resident of Utah, they pay about $2,700 a semester as opposed to $10,000 a semester. If a student's here as a non-resident, they can establish residency. It takes about a year. And then there are some ways we can reclassify students if they had a job change, if they're military, if they're part of a certain tribe. There's a lot of stuff that we can deal with. But we have a residency office that specializes in that, and we have to follow the laws that the state has given us. So that's why we have residency deadlines. A lot of the students are okay being non-residents for a year. They'll pay $20,000 for that first year, and then they'll hopefully have their residency established by the end, or by the beginning of their next year, so they can pay in-state rates. And then another FYI is everybody pays in-state tuition during the summer semester. It's kind of an incentive to keep students here. I would, if I were just the difference between the two, I'd take 18 credit hours over the summer.
So for international student, that's a great time to take extra classes.
Yeah, they can, everybody gets that benefit, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, we have a new system where our office is working very closely with the Honors College to hopefully get them a look at the best students the quickest. So what we've done is we've said, if you want the Honors College to have a decision for you within their first pool of release dates, get your stuff to us by November 1st. If you do, the admissions decision can happen, and then we send their file off to Honors College through an electronic system we have. And then the Honors College will read their essay, they'll look over their test scores, their transcripts, and say, yes, we want you to be part of the Honors College, or no. So we're working very closely with them. Okay, so this is for freshmen only, and it's really neat what we've changed to. We're turning more towards what a lot of other schools are doing. This is the notification dates and deadlines. Kind of like Honors College, but for admissions purposes only, we will say if you have your complete application, which is the application filled out completely and paid for, your test scores electronically sent to us from the testing agency, and your high school transcript sent in to us by December 1st, we will have your decision on January 15th, whether it be yes or no. What that does is it allows students to have the get put in the pool for the earlier scholarships that are available. So really people want to get their stuff to us by December 1st. When our recruiters are going out, they're saying, please get your information into us by December 1st. So you're in this pool of scholarships. Are there scholarships available after? Yes. But I think most things are on a first-come, first-served basis. And if you're this awesome student, you want to have you be awesome at the front of the line instead of the back of the line. So that's a change that we have made within this past year, and it's worked out really, really well. It's really helped the students understand, like, okay, well, I'll know on this date if I can go to the University of Utah or not, or if that's going to be an option for me. Because typically when freshmen apply, they'll apply to multiple schools, as opposed to transfer students really kind of know where they want to go when they get to that point. But freshmen, they'll kind of do the shotgun approach where they just put their hand in every basket that they can. Anyway, any questions about our deadlines or why we have them for freshmen? These are mostly based off of financial aid and stuff like that with the scholarships. Sorry, I should call it scholarships. These are our fees. We do have the opportunity to waive students' fees for financial difficulties. Typically, we want a letter from all the time we want a letter from a third party verifying that they know of the student's financial needs. We get a lot from high school counselors. We trust high school counselors quite a bit. They work with the students that may be struggling financially, and they know. Even the ticket that says you're receiving discounted school lunch, because they get that letter in the mail, that will count as a fee waiver, because we know that they will only get that if they meet a certain criteria. Religious leaders are really good for students to waive application fees, because religious leaders are deeply involved in some of their lives and they know their situations. But for most students, we will charge the application fee. It's $45 for undergraduate, $55 for graduate, and then international, you just add 10 on each of those. That fee goes to the international office, that extra $10. So that's why we're charging a little more. If they get it in past our published deadlines, we will charge them $30 extra. So it can potentially be a very expensive application. Okay, so you're all wondering what we do down there, right? We look at core courses for students. Now, who are you all working? So in Office of Equity and Diversity, are you working directly with like students academically, or are you just kind of dealing with?
Yeah, I'm working with, but in particular, I'm working with transfer students.
Transfer students, okay. So this may not pertain to you as much. There are transfer students that may have to meet these requirements because they don't have up to 30 transferable hours at the time of admissions. But in social work, I'm gathering you're working with students all the time that are the academic part, right?
Yes.
And then with gender studies, the academic part as well? Yes, okay. So what we do is we say, did you meet these requirements? And we will go through and we will code these requirements. And if they're shorter requirement, what we require of the student, I'm saying require a lot, is that they take the course that they were missing within their first 30 credit hours of attending the University of Utah. If they don't, we put a registration hold on their record, and then they have to come talk to us, and we say, you have to take this now. This is the only semester we will release it, or you will have to go elsewhere if you don't take it within your next semester. We do understand if students come in short math, there is a sequence that they have to go through. Let's say they only test into Math 960. If we can see they're working towards getting the college level math that we want them to get to, we'll continue to work with them. The second that they stop and the hold goes on again, and we're like, well, hey, you didn't take a math course last semester, why not? Then that's when we have to kind of tighten up a little bit on what we're helping them with. The science, if you're talking to a student that's short a science course, I'm hoping that you all know in PeopleSoft where to find this if it comes up or if there's a hold. A lot of students don't like the harder sciences that are more rigorous. All it needs to be is something that's coded SF or AS. I know we offer a lot of those courses that are much easier than your general biology, your physics, and your chemistry. Those courses are much more intensive, and we don't require that at a college level, unless they want to go into it, of course, to clear this freshman requirement. But when they're in high school, we do require that they take 2 courses, and then their third year can be like an earth science or an astronomy or something. That's in high school only. If they're coming up here short where you guys are seeing them, and you're like, oh, you're short one science, then it can be anything coded AS or SF. Okay? The majority of students are going to be short foreign languages. When in high school, they have to be the consecutive years, like Spanish 1, Spanish 2, French 1, French 2, that type of thing. If they get up here and they took Spanish 1 in high school and they hated Spanish, they can take French up here, they can take American Sign Language, they can take anything that's... It does not have to be the consecutive year at college level. Does that make sense? So when you're advising those students, just say, well, what language are you interested in? Go take that. As opposed to, well, you took Spanish, we have to take Spanish 1010 by default. We don't require that. We just want them to take a foreign language. Great. Any questions on this? Okay. So this is part. Another part is we holistically review files. This is posted on our website. Hopefully students can read it. What we're looking for is to create a good freshman incoming class who's diverse and ready to make the University of Utah a great school. Community service can be a part of that. Did you have to help supplement your family income while you were in high school? And it also helps the students that didn't achieve what they would have liked in high school due to that. I mean, you have students that come from single-parent homes, or maybe the father had lost their job and they did have to supplement. Of course, their GPA is not going to be as high as a student who didn't have to do that. But if it is, I've seen some amazing students where they, regardless of what it's come to them, they overachieve, which is great. Just because we do holistic does not downplay the importance of academics. We still like higher test scores. We still like higher GPAs. So, I don't know. Do you guys have any questions on, or do you all have any questions on this? No? I think it's a much more fair approach to the admissions process, because there are students that have gotten in due to this that would not have otherwise on our previous way of doing it. The previous way, we just kind of said, where's your GPA, where's your test score, yes, no. Now we're really looking at the student as a whole, which is great. Okay, so we talked about one of these holds, the bottom one, the conditional holds. That's if the student is short a foreign language or a science or a math or something. Once that 30 semester hours hits, the hold goes on. Typically in the middle of the semester, we're going to place these holds in about 2 weeks for this upcoming group that is hitting the 30 hours. And then missing credential holds. When we admit students, we admit them based upon the fact that we want all of their work. We want the grades that they're current, or the courses they are currently in. So there's a lot of transfer students that come in that we admit them without their last semester grades, because we understand they can't get them to us until May 18th, and we want to start making decisions in January, right? So we say, yes, you're admitted based upon you doing well your last semester. because our decision is what we see so far we like, we want to see more that we like. And we do review the files after. We rarely see ones that we have that are like red lights. You're like, oh, you failed your entire last semester. What do we do with it? Then we start talking and may have to call the student and look into it a little deeper. But we hold students to getting us all of their transcripts. And if they don't, we won't release the hold until we get all of those transcripts. Now, if you're advising students with these holds, tell them to get things in this as soon as possible. If you see that hold, I would just recommend saying, oh, it looks like you're missing a transcript. Contact the Office of Admissions to find out which one. Because we do have deadlines where students are turning in transcripts like crazy. We get, during December, I'm not even kidding you, our stack of papers that we get a day in the mail are about that big. This is opened mail. It's not in the envelopes anymore. It's about that big, and it takes time to get through those. And students will be like, well, I have to register for the spring semester. We're like, we understand. We're sorry. But you've known about this for a while. Please get it into us. At that point, we recommend that they just go to the school personally and pick up a copy in a signed sealed envelope and bring it to us. And we'll release it at the window. But if you see any of these holds, have them contact us immediately, because the sooner they get them taken care of, the better it is for them. So any questions about these holds? These are typically the only two you will see from our office. Okay, does anybody know what House Bill 144 is? CESA better, right? All right, Paul, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
It's if you live for Utah, at Utah High School, even if you're not a United States tuition.
Right. So it's huge. Because a lot of them aren't eligible for financial aid. And I've discussed previously, $10,000 a semester out of pocket without financial aid is very difficult for a lot of those families and can put a huge strain on them. So the requirements that he was talking about is did you attend a Utah high school for 3 or more years, and did you graduate from a Utah high school? Now, the other stipulation is when you did graduate, did you go to a Utah college? Because if they go to the state, that contract that they could get is no longer available to them. Because we are trying to help them in the state of Utah. This is the state of Utah. So it's perfect for these students. It helps them out. Another cool thing about this is it's not only for undocumented students. One of our residency requirements is if you're under the age of 25, your parents can still claim you on taxes, right? So if you're under the age of 25, you can fall under House Bill if your parents live out of state. If you did all your high school here in Utah, let's say. You did all your high school here in Utah, and then your dad gets a job in Georgia. He goes to Georgia. You fill out your application. You're still 20 years old, so you're in that red zone where they can still claim you on the taxes. We're going to say you're non-resident, and they're going to say, well, I did all my high school here. Well, you can fall under House Bill 144, and you don't have to go through the whole residency process. We just charge you in-state tuition. Just turn in your transcript, and we'll see if you meet the requirements. So it's for students of that nature as well. So it's pretty cool. All right, any questions about House Bill? No? Okay, transfer students. Where do I start? Okay, what we look for on transfer students is file initially, and we look at the National Student Clearinghouse. What the National Student Clearinghouse does for our office, because it does many things, is we can look up prior enrollment. We have students that will say, I didn't want to turn in that school because I didn't do well there. So they omit it on their application, but we find it on the clearinghouse. And we'll request that students send in all the transcripts that we require to make an admissions decision. There are a few transcripts that we won't need up front to make an admissions decision. Let's say a student has 80 hours at Salt Lake Community College, and during high school, we can definitely see when it's during, through the National Student Clearinghouse. During high school, they took 3 hours at Weber State as concurrent enrollment. We will ask for that, but we don't need it to make a decision because 3 hours won't weigh out what 80 hours has already done. Even if they failed the course, they could still be admissible. So there are situations where we're like, okay, we'll without this, but most of the time we want all the transcripts up front. Then what we do is we look and see what their transferable GPA is. We'll go through courses, cross out courses that we won't take. For example, BYU and LDS Business College teach religious courses, in a doctrinal manner, we cross those out. We don't take them in. As opposed to here, I know we have a religious studies program. We teach it more at a secular level, so we will bring that in. So if the University of Colorado taught a religious course, we'd more than likely take it in as opposed to BYU teaching the religious course, because they're a state school, they're not going to preach. BYU is private, it's religious, they can do what they want in the religion portion, right? You guys seeing the difference? We don't take our things that we don't teach here other than if you're a USHE school. So, for example, Salt Lake Community College has a barber school there, and beautician school there. Does the University of Utah? No. But they're coding it as college level, and we've made agreements with all USHE schools to bring in whatever they teach that's college level. So we'll bring it in just as elective credit. Boise State, I've heard, has a great auto mechanic school. They are not a USHE school. We don't teach auto mechanics here. So if they took a lot of auto mechanic courses, we will just cross them out and they won't be transferable. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. So that's kind of how we make our judgments on what we take in, what we don't take in. Is what school it's coming from? Do we teach it here? That type of thing. I know there's schools out in the Pacific and in Hawaii that will teach marine biology and stuff. That could definitely fall under the biology program. We're going to take that in. Or if they teach about the geography of Hawaii, it could fall under geography. So there is some flex to it. We don't have to teach identical to it, but could it fall under a department here? If so, we will take it in. Does that make sense? Great. Okay, so then we calculate the GPA. If they have a 2.60 or higher, then they're an auto admit. If it's below a 2.6, then they go to a committee and we holistically review the applicant to see maybe why they did bad. Transfer students are interesting. They do have a little more life experience. Things tend to happen as life goes on. In the long run, you run into tragedies and stuff like that. So we do take that into account and consideration. We just hope, what we like to see, I guess, in the committee, because I do sit on that, is that the student does really well, and then, a tragedy did happen, and they didn't do so good, and that brought them down quite a bit. But what were you doing before that happened? Were you doing great? That can tell us that you are going to be a successful student here at the University of Utah. That type of thing. If you're just doing poor all throughout, maybe the University of Utah isn't the school for you, because it is pretty rigorous up here. Now, if a student is denied and they're really close to an associate's, we'll tell them to go get that associate's degree and then reapply, because the 2.35, we drop the GPA down, the requirement, to a 2.35 with an associate's, just because they have direction in what they're going to study. They're not going to come here, hopefully, as an undeclared and take another 3-4 semesters of general education because they're sick of general education. They've done it all. They're ready to go get their bachelor's degree. Okay. All right, so this is what I was talking about, the transfer students that you may see, the very last bullet. If a student has less than 30 semester hours, high school transcripts and ACT scores will be required. That is because we can't fully make a decision off of what they've done. They can do great in one semester, but how did they do in high school? If you do great in 3 semesters, we don't care what you did in high school. Does that make sense? So we if they're under 30 transferable hours at the point of evaluation, we will require that. We do have students that did do one semester, they're in their second one, and by the time they finish their second one, they will have over 30 hours, but that's not at the point of evaluation. We will do things at the point of evaluation. Does that help? Yeah, if you're talking to prospective students. Okay. Any questions on transfers? Yes?
About appealing.
Oh, okay.
How does that work? I've looked at it a little bit.
How does that work? Okay. So what happens, this is a new process that we have. It's the appeal process. If you are denied admissions, you have the right to appeal the decision. What we have is sponsoring departments. Some are academic, some are supporting departments. If you have the department that you're interested in, you're going to try and make your application shine a little bit through the little spaces we give you on the appeal application. They send everything into us. They send 2 letters of recommendation. We hope they're from professors. Some students have no contact with the professors and hadn't for 10 years. So it's not like they're going to go back to their math teacher and be like, hey, remember me? So we hopefully get 2 good letters of recommendation, and then they fill out the appeal form, and they submit it to us. And if they have new test scores or new grades or anything, I would tell the student to send it in, because anything can help. So what we do then is we scan it into a system called Knowledge, and then we send them out to the departments. And then we give the departments 30 days. So we send them out on the 15th of every month, and then we hope to have an answer by the next 15th. So we give departments that amount of time to make a decision if they want the students. So mind you, the students are picking the departments. We're not sending it out to every department. And they can pick up to 3. And they can say, I want this one, and this one that would fit under me. And then they send it out, or we send it out to the departments, and then the departments send the decision back to us. Yes, we want to sponsor this student, or no, we don't. Or if 2 say yes, then then we start having a discussion. Who wants to sponsor this student? What we hope is that this sponsoring department really becomes their sponsor. They can help them through college. Hopefully they make rules where the student has to meet with them once a semester, or once at the beginning, once at midterms, and then fine. I don't know. However they want to do it, however many resources they have, but hopefully they're keeping in contact with students. But that's the appeal process. If a student doesn't initially get in, they can say, okay, well, I want a sponsoring department. Where would I best fit?
So for example, I have a student who's a transfer student, and she has below a 2.6 but above a 2.0, and she just applied, so she may or may not be accepted.
Okay.
But she just wanted to know her options. She asked us about transferring, or appeal, how do you appeal, so I gave her some information about that.
Okay.
Are there any kind of cutoffs in terms of like, this is just too low, GPA, or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you really didn't perform well at all, we'll recommend that you go to a community college and prove yourself for 2 semesters. Or if you did that, then really maybe the university. I mean, we want student success up here. It is much more rigorous. I went the community college route. I was a transfer from Salt Lake Community College, and I noticed the difference when I came up here. My time I had to spend studying, the effort I had to put into it was much bigger here than it is there. And so, yes, there is a threshold where it is too low and we can't help the student out very much. But if they're above a 2.0, there's hope, I would say, for them. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. A summary of transfer credits. So what we've really pushed for in our area is getting these out to students faster. It used to be a 6-week delay from their acceptance. So they get the letter of acceptance and then they don't get this till 6 weeks after. What this is saying, this is what we took in, this is the grade that was on your transcript, and we agreed to give that to you, and this is the general education code that we gave to you. Please review it to make sure that it's right. If you have any questions, please call the Office of Admissions. Once we do this, and then the student pays their deposit, then they can start seeing things on DARS. And you all work with DARS quite a bit, don't you? Yeah. So once they pay the deposit, then we can start posting it onto their DARS report. So we've really pushed to get this through faster so it can be a smoother transition for the student, so they don't come meet with the advisor and the advisor's like, well, I can't see anything you've done because it's not posted yet. We like to have it all posted up front. We are admitting students and having the transfer summary mailed out to them about 4 days after at latest. So that was a huge gap from 6 weeks to about 4 days. So we're hoping that helps advisors out. We're trying to make your jobs a little easier. The hard ones, and we've discussed this before, is bachelor's degree students. If you get a second bachelor's degree student, we won't post course by course. We just post the degree in its entirety. So if you want a copy of a transcript, just call us. We're more than happy to fax one to you. And if the fax doesn't go through, we'll walk it over to you. We'll get it to you. So just let us know what we can do for you. But yeah, I think that's... Yeah, okay. So we don't code bachelor degree requirements. I guess that's a nice thing to know. the CW and the IR and the DV and stuff like that. The DV, that's an interesting one. Does anybody know what the DV is, or should I explain it a little bit? Yeah? Yeah, the diversity credit. So there's one school that we will take diversity credit from, and that's Salt Lake Community College. All the other schools may have that on their transcript, but that has to go through University College. Who's doing that now up there?
All of us.
All of you guys are doing it, where they do the petition. And okay, so they can petition if they think that one of their courses. So they look at our list of courses and they're like, hey, I think I took this class at Weber. Why can't that count, right? That's kind of what you go off of. And then they'll make the decision on the general education requirement.
Do we take credits from the University of Phoenix?
Yes. Yeah, we do. We just started it about 2.5 years ago, I think, to do so. A lot of their credits will come across as elective, but there are some courses that we can say, yes, this is general psychology, or this would count for writing 1010. There's a few there that we'll take in as general education requirements. But okay, any other questions? Governor's University, we do take from them as well. Theirs just comes across as credit. We don't even give them grades. It's just credit, and will not go towards a general education. And just for your information, you may not need this for your jobs, but it's kind of interesting. A general education course has to be 3 semester hours or more. So there's some courses that are 2 semester hours that may look like they get one, but just because of the weight on the credit, it doesn't get the general education requirement.
Although in University College, if they have 2 classes that maybe are 2 credits, we can combine them.
Oh, cool.
To fulfill the general education.
I had no idea. That's great. Yeah, so does that happen very often, or?
Not very often. Westminster has some 2-credit classes, so that's probably the most common.
Okay. That's cool. Well, that's good to know. I'll send students up there if I ever run into that. It's good to know. Okay. Test credit. This, we have a lot of great international baccalaureate programs in the state of Utah. West High School is known for it, for their amount that they teach. We will take in all of these test credits. The AP, we just changed how we're doing it. The test scores come across electronically, and then we can just post them off that. They no longer have to fill out a sheet of paper. The IB diploma, though, and the IB test credit, we do require that they fill out a sheet of paper. So if you have students that are interested in posting their test credits from high school, have them come talk to us, and we can get that taken care of for them. The CLEP is taken care of through the testing center, and then there's some students that are like, well, you saw that I took AP psychology on my high school transcript. Why didn't you post it off of there? It's because we didn't have the test score. We need the actual test score because they have to meet a 3 or higher on the AP scores, and then the IB exams can get a little more sticky because there's higher level and then there's standard level, and then what did you get, and then did you get the diploma, and there's a lot of things we look into when we post IB credit.
Does the score have to come from the AP board?
We prefer that it does because it just loads electronically into our system. The students do have the opportunity to choose up to a certain amount of schools when they're taking the exam to send their test scores to. But does it have to? No. The test scores for admissions purposes do. So SAT, ACT, we want those coming directly from the testing agency electronically, or we won't use them.
And then is the 3 a minimum across the board for all discipline, or is it varies? Some require 4, or?
So when you get into the higher courses, for example, calculus, we'll just do that one. So calculus BC is the second level of calculus within the AP. So if you get a 4 or a 3, you get 6 credit hours, and then you get the QR fulfilled. If you get a 5, the University of Utah will give you 8 credit hours and fulfill the QR. So it'll give you a little bit more, depending on your score. And not every test is like that. For the writing composition, if you get a 3, it'll fulfill your 1010. If you get a 4 or a 5, it will fulfill your 2010. And then you don't have to take writing at all. So, But if you get below a 3, we won't post any credit whatsoever. So, okay. Any other questions on what we do with test scores? If there are any questions, you can always send the student to us, and we'll be able to help them as best as we can. Okay, this is constantly changing. The military credit. Do you know anything about this? The changes. It's constantly changing. So what the military credit is, bills have gone through the Senate where we now look at it differently. We will take in more than we used to in the past, and these are coming from, have you heard of SMART transcripts or ART transcripts? So the SMART, I think, is Sailor, Marine, I don't know what the R stands for. It's the Army. Then ARTS is Air Force. I don't know. Or is ARTS Army? Anyway, they all have their acronyms and things, and we're going to take this, we look at it now as if they were an out-of-state school. So would it fit into one of our programs here? If so, which one? And then we just give it credit. We don't give it a grade. So that's how we look at it now. And why I say it's constantly changing is we're now working into having the student mandatorily meeting with an advisor prior to posting this so they know what it actually means. Because then you can get into problems with your financial aid. If your credit hours are too high, there's degree programs out there. What's engineering is there? To actually get a degree, do you know?
In engineering?
Yeah.
Credits, you mean?
Yeah.
There are over 100
I believe it's about,
specific.
Of just engineering, yeah. So it gets pretty high.
it's like 74
The prerequisites are 74?
for the first year or second year to get into the program.
Wow. And then you have to take all their other stuff. So your credit hours can get really high. So what we want to do is we want to help these returning veterans out and say, this is really what this means. Do you want this posted? And then they're going to have to come fill out a form at our office. That I think there's going to be a meeting taking place next month between our office and University College of what we want to actually do to help the students. So we're trying to help the students. We're not making them jump through hoops and stuff. There's some students that really don't need the credit, and the advisor might help them see that. Or there's some students that would really want the credit. They want to go to get an econ degree, and econ's only 36 hours plus your gen. And they may need the filler credits. So whatever's best for the student, we're hoping the advisor is able to relay that to the student so they don't get in a hard place where they're no longer receiving their benefits because of credit hours. So non-accredited schools, when we say non-accredited, they are accredited through someone somewhere, but it may not be an accreditation that we accept. In Utah, a good one, Broadview University. You all seen the commercials? Billboards? They get out there. We don't accept credit from them because they are nationally accredited. What we look for is regionally accredited. I think we're accredited through the Western Association of Colleges and Schools. So that Western tells you it's good. When I first started this job, it was hard for me to realize that because I was like, national, I mean, that's bigger, that's bigger, better, right? It's not so. It's the regional accredited agencies is who the colleges want to be accredited through. And high schools. We look at high school accreditation as well. And we will look at those students' files a little bit differently because we know they're not meeting the minimum standard of being accredited. And these agencies are trying to keep these schools in mind saying, are you teaching this? Are you teaching this? When you teach biology, do you teach evolution? Do you teach cellular division? Do you teach this in your general biology course? What are you doing here? So they have jobs to keep these schools, and the schools try to upkeep their up to the standard so they can stay accredited. So we have some basis of what to go on and what's good, what's bad. Anyway, if they feel that there is a course that we did not accept that could fit into the University of Utah, they can always petition. We will never say, no, you can never petition and state your case. We'll always leave that open to the student. If they feel like they deserve that, then we can do that for them. What they do is they submit, we like to see as much part of the course as they can give us. So if they can give us a syllabus, or if they can give us a course description, at least a course description at minimum, but a syllabus always helps too, and then their letter of saying what they think, what department it should fall under and what class it's most like. And then we get that information, we send it out to the department, and the department makes the decision saying, yeah, that sounds great, or no, I don't think that works. Then we say yes or no to the student, type of thing. So, any questions on that? This is where the transfer guide comes in handy, because they may look at it and be like, oh, well, I took a course, why didn't that count? Petition for credit by examination. We've been seeing a lot of these lately from the College of Fine Arts. A lot of ballet students have work experience where they have danced with Ballet West for so long, and they already know the basics and do not need to be in that course. They can just buy the credit to go towards the degree. The department has to approve it before, and they pretty much take the final exam and have to get a C grade or higher to the professors, and the professor judges that, and if they do, then we'll post it as credit. Accounting is another one that could be a possibility. If you want to get out of your basic accounting courses, you can do that, but the department has to be willing to work with you. Okay. Upper division credit, 3,000 level or higher. We don't post them automatically as upper division. They can come petition that through us, and then we will work with other people to get that in line. International admissions. Just to speed this up a little bit, what time do I have till? About 2 minutes? That's great. Let me just say this about international students. They have to follow a different set of rules than domestic students. If they fall under the required amount of course hours, then they can be deported. So a lot of them will have to register above that. So let's say they have 12, then they register for 15, and then they can drop one back to 12. They can't do drop and then add. It's really interesting. So if you have any questions, there's an international center, and then there's also our international admissions office, who's now processing applications for the Asia campus. Have you guys heard about that? It's pretty cool. We're going global. We'll be in Korea for a little bit. House Bill 118 is House Bill 144 for international students. These are students that are here legally on visas. We do offer that. So you'll have a student that goes to Utah High School. They're here legally on a visa. They just fill out a different affidavit. It's pretty much the same rules. Same rules apply as House Bill 144. There's our contact information. And we have a phone tree now. And our Welcome Center will answer all phone calls. If you really need to get through to me, feel free to. I'm very happy to help. Just say I need to talk to Brad, and then I'll help you out, hopefully. So they can send you right over to me. But we try to field all the calls that they could take first before they send it to the processing side so we can process faster. But anyway, right on time? Cool. Thanks, everybody. It's nice meeting you all.